Hello and welcome to yet another exciting episode of your favorite nautical TV program, NIMASA This Week, the Voice of Maritime. This program is all about shipping and the development of the nation's blue economy as the nation's most sustainable way out of over-reliance on the extractive industry of oil and other mineral resources. As always, NIMASA This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, statutorily mandated to regulate and promote activities within the nation's maritime sphere. My name is Ubong Essien, and I will be your guide on this voyage. Welcome back. It's still NIMASA This Week, the Voice of Maritime. And yes, we now have it. It's called the Certificate of Business Compliance, delivered by no less an institution than the Infrastructure, Concession and Regulatory Commission, the ICRC, delivered to the DG of NIMASA that the NIMASA Modular Floating Dock, contrary to misconceptions, misrepresentations, and all of the various misinformation peddled out there, that the NIMASA Floating Dock, a key infrastructure and asset of government, is bankable, it is viable and poised for business. The certificate of compliance was presented by the acting DG of the ICRC, Mr. Mike Oheani, to the Director General of NIMASA, Dr. Bashir Jamoh, and we hope that this lays to rest finally all of the media mischiefs trumped up around the issue of the modular floating dock. This and more you'll get to find out on the DG's diary. Also on the program is my nautical chat with the duo of the DG of NIMASA and the acting DG of the ICRC to explain further what we need to fully understand about the PPP, the Public-Private Partnership Arrangement, as mandated by the laws of the Federation. And of course, our other regulars all ready for your learning delight. So if you're ready, it's anchors away.
The maritime world recently dedicated the 2021 World Maritime Day to celebrate seafarers. According to the International Maritime Organization, the theme for this year's celebration was Seafarers at the Core of Shipping Future. As the seafarers were celebrated globally, the Nigerian Maritime Sector did not take the backseat as stakeholders converged to applaud the efforts of seafarers during the COVID-19 lockdown and beyond. Present on the occasion was Senator Tolu Odebiyi, who represented the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustapha, and was also a representative of the Chairman, Senate Committee on Marine Transportation. The Minister of Transportation, Right Honorable Rotimi Amici, while speaking on the occasion, stated that the seafaring is a noble profession and therefore acknowledged that shipping and seafarers keep global commerce and trade running.
The theme of today's celebration is the seafarers at the core of shipping's future. When you see the theme, you will know that the seafarers play very vital function in maritime activities. Like you know, there is no maritime without shipping. The theme reflects a clear need to raise awareness of seafarers' vital role in world trade and increase their visibility by drawing attention to the invaluable role they play now and will continue to play in the future. It is indeed an iconic decision to celebrate seafarers at a time when these men and women stand out as the last line of defense for global survival.
The minister also seized the event to applaud the Director General of Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Dr. Bashir Jamoh, for transforming the maritime industry through his various leadership initiatives.
Apart from security, the next thing is safety. You don't collect people's money without giving them avenue to navigate safely, right? So what has he done? I think it was last week I was in Lagos. I don't know why people are not paying me money for coming to Lagos. I was in Lagos to flag off the wreck removal. He's also, in that regard, set up what he calls what they are called Regional Maritime Safety and Security Training Center. In that Maritime Safety and Security Training Center, you have 28-seater electronic library. So now he's facing safety while watching what is happening in the security.
The Minister of State for Transportation, Bimi Saraki, also graced the event virtually, while the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Dr. Magdalene Ajani, was physically present. The Director General of NIMASA, Dr. Bashir Jamoh, during his address, saluted the International Maritime Organization for the timely theme.
Today, as we join the rest of the world to mark World Maritime Day, we salute the International Maritime Organization for keeping these brave men and women of the seas at the top of the global maritime agenda, reminding all of us that we are nothing without them. We will ever be indebted to them for their sacrifices and contribution.
The DG congratulated all the Nigerian seafarers and their counterparts at the nation's seaports, terminal, and jetties on the special day dedicated to celebrate them.
We have every reason to celebrate the seafarers for their contributions to the Nigerian economy. We have every reason to celebrate the seafarers because they make life more meaningful to individual citizens by playing a significant role in the delivery of essential for our collective survival.
The 2021 World Maritime Day was also graced by the Nigerian alternate permanent representative to the IMO, Abdul Mumuni Dirisu, and other notable stakeholders in the Nigerian maritime sectors. The Acting Director General of the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, ICRC, Michael Ohiani, has declared the multi-billion naira modular floating dock acquired by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency as bankable and sustainable. The acting DG, who led a team of ICRC officers to the NIMASA headquarters in Lagos, presented the certificate of compliance for an outline business case for the operation of the modular floating dock under a public-private partnership arrangement.
We have reviewed it and we are confident and certain that the project is bankable, sustainable, and it will bring a lot of revenue and employment opportunity as well as safety to the maritime industry. We hereby satisfy it that it is doable. So we have today issued the outline business case that will enable us to go to the next phase, which is the procurement of the concessionaire. On behalf of the management staff of ICRC, I present this certificate to NIMASA DG.
Director General of NIMASA, Dr. Bashir Jamoh, while receiving the certificate of compliance, said that the presentation of the certificate will clear the air on the different allegations by the public on the implementation of the floating dock.
Today is a very good day for us in NIMASA because we are laying to rest the agitation of the public in terms of the issue of modular floating dock. Having presented certificates, this shows that we were not sleeping. All this while, we are working tirelessly to make sure that we protect the public asset. So if the public, they are after their own wealth, they should be able to come and, ginger us to make sure that we protect those assets, because we are not willing to bring our families or bring our cronies to come and take over public property. Anybody who is interested, as you said,
is going to public. Let him come and bid, let him go through the rigorous process and make sure that he bid and gets what he's supposed to get without any payable from anybody.
The NIMASA boss thanked the acting DG and his ICRC team for their efforts and due diligence, stating that the country will be the ultimate beneficiary when the project becomes operational.
I would like to sincerely appreciate you. Not because of anything, reaching this stage is not quite easy. It takes a lot of hard work, diligence, you understand, and also extra time to make sure that you achieve this feat. So I think this is not for me, it's not for you, it's not for NIMASA, it's not for ICRC, but for the generality of the country, so that we can ensure we protect the funds of public for public good.
Also presented was the certificate for the offshore water reception facility concession, which the DG NIMASA stated will be a good source of income generation for the country.
Welcome back. It's still NIMASA this week, the voice of maritime, and we are having a very important nautical chart. And this nautical chart is critical because of the all too important issue of the NIMASA modular floating dock. DG, what is the essence of his visit here today as the chief executive of NIMASA, the owner of the floating dock that has been under so much controversy?
We acquired the modular floating dock for the purpose of commercial use. So the next thing we have to do is to do business case. So we did a business case and the report came out from our consultants. Note that the approval from my own supervisory ministry will have to take time. They also have to conduct their investigations, what is on ground and how we are going to do. Unless they are convinced, they won't be able to give us go ahead. Again, now that we discovered that the supervisory ministry said go ahead, you can commence utilizations, then we have to develop business case. Where is the appropriate place that we are going to install this particular modular floating dock that will not be a waste? It's one thing for you to have the infrastructure, it's another thing for you to have customers to come and utilize the platform. So the business case have to tell us this is how you do it, and this is where you should fix it, this is the challenges that you're going to face in terms of security, in terms of accessibility, in terms of infrastructure, workshop and other things that you will need to build. So that business case also takes a while because they will have also to go and conduct research. They have to move around the country to see the appropriate place that they can advise us. So they came with their own advice. And their advice was that, okay, it has to go through an arrangement with some of the people that have the facilities. And the best place they recommended for us was to use Continental Shipyard. And the Continental Shipyard belongs to MPA. And we can't go even though we are all serving the same government. So everybody has his own mandate, has his own functions to perform. And he owes it a duty to deliver revenue every year. So we can't just go and take over Continental Shipyard. So we have to go and interface with MPA. So when they are going through private sector, we have public sector, NIMASA. We have public sector, MPA. So where does the private sector will come in line with the mandate of the ICRC. So we say, okay, the management should come from the private sector. They should be able to go and market and get us customer to come and do it and other things like that. So we apply to ICRC. And when we apply to the ICRC, they have to monitor compliance of their own act, what the act says, because they regulate the PPP arrangement. And they should make sure that there is efficient execution of those compliance. So they too, they have their own mandate. So they will have to sit down and analyze things. And that's why you hear him saying that it's bankable. So they have already looked at all the sides. One, on the side of NIMASA, two, on the side of MPA, three, on the side of public sector, private sector. And that regulations, the regulator is ICRC. And what do they regulate? They have the act. And they have been the one regulating all those things.
Okay, as the midwife, yes. You know, people don't seem to appreciate how tedious a process like this can be, or how rigorous. Can you just explain briefly why this process was necessary? Because the expectation was that we had paid for the floating dock, it had arrived, it ought to have been put to use for about 3 years now.
If you want to do PPP, there are two ways of doing it. One is through unsolicited proposal and the other one is through solicited proposal. The unsolicited proposal is where you have an asset that is not optimally utilized. A private sector may see the need that it can be optimally put to use, make a proposal to you. If you accept that, that becomes an unsolicited proposal, which you accept, send to ICRC. We will now do the analysis. If we see that it is bankable in the sense that it will attract investment, financial institutions are willing to put in money, we now ask you to go to the next stage, which that's the procurement of the concessionaire. As you are aware, it is not due to the generosity of a baker we have bread on our table. It's because they want to make money. So we always ensure that in trying to make money, federal government is not shortchanged. There could also be solicitation. That's what NIMASA has done now. Prepare the business case. In preparing the business case, you use a transaction advisor. All this takes time because you want to get a best person who would, it's like you want to recruit a coach for your team. You don't just go to the roadside and pick anybody. Otherwise, you go home with harvest of gold. So you get a very good transaction advisor who will prepare the business case. Once that it is done, you send it to ICRC. We will review it. That's what NIMASA has done now. We review it and ensure that the project is bankable, sustainable. Government will get value for that. Once that is done, we issue an outline business certificate. The next thing is that the transaction advisor will now take it to the market to get the best concessionaire who will be able to provide that services. Once that is, you do the negotiation, discussion, and based on what has been agreed, he will now prepare full business case. The full business case will contain the terms of the discussion, the timesheet of the finances involved, and the draft concession agreement, which will also be taken to Federal Executive Council for sign-off. And when that it is done, we are good to go, and ICRC will also take custody and money. Currently, we have about 79 such projects under our custody, and we are monitoring.
This is a major milestone. Can you forecast how soon this can be delivered?
Having done this, we are going to throw it open very competitively so that we get the best hand. So we'll have to draw up the RFQ.
Okay.
Then
What do you mean by RFQ?
We will have to do the request for proposal.
Okay.
Then we also have the request for qualification. So we'll evaluate and get the best person. And so this, we are going to advertise, and this will take a minimum of 1 month. After that is done, we'll do the evaluation. And after the evaluation, whoever emerges, that's when we'll now, so then there will be the issue of the negotiation. Then we'll now do the full business case, which will now be sent to ICRC. We'll do all the necessary, like he said, we'll also do the due diligence on the person that eventually emerges, that he has the financial wherewithal and the technical know-how to handle this transaction. It is only when all this has been done that it will now be finalized and taken to Federal Executive Council. So plus or minus, we are looking at the next maximum 4 months we should be done.
Maximum 4 months.
If you look at my previous answer technically, I have hands up. The modular floating dock is no longer the property of NIMASA. It's the property of public, and it has to go public. So whether I am okay or not, if that is what the process and procedure provide. For instance, now in BPP, if you do advertisement, minimum you have to leave that advertisement open for 6 weeks. And he made mention that in their own act, minimum it has to take 1 month. Can I tell him or direct him to shorten 1 month to 15 months? You know, it's not possible. Before this interview, we were discussing with him. He said minimum of this kind of transactions takes 3 to 6 months, depending on the transactional advisor. So he too, he may not be in a position. What he tells you now, you ask him for as approximate. It may be more, less, it may be more. But he was telling you give and take probably maybe about 4 months.
My name is Mfonu Soro. You are watching NIMASA This Week, the voice of maritime. Stay tuned.
I'll encourage you to watch NIMASA This Week. I'm Linda Chuba Igbeazu.
NIMASA This Week, the voice of maritime, showing on these stations.
Welcome back. It's still NIMASA This Week, the voice of maritime, and straight away we go into the maritime mandate column, where the DG of NIMASA writes every Wednesday, and it's in the Guardian. And this week it is the 4th installment on shifting gears to the blue economy. Remember that when it comes to the development of the National Blue Economic Strategic Blueprint, the DG of NIMASA has advocated 5 essential working groups to hash out the elements for this strategic document. Already the DG has covered the working groups on security, capacity, finance and investment. And on this week's episode in The Guardian, the DG is talking about the Blue Economy working groups on governance and the environment. These two are very critical to the success of the blue economy. You can read the entire article on the DG's website as well as on the Guardian website if you don't have a physical copy of the newspaper. The hashtag to use to continue the conversation is Maritime Mandate. You can also extend that conversation to the DG on all of his social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, while also doing same for all of our NIMASA official handles as displayed on your screen. However, if your interest in the maritime sector is purely business, then you know that your first port of call remains the NIMASA official website. There are rules, there are regulations, there are legislations, there are instructions, and of course, relevant updates on a moment-by-moment basis to guide your interest, because the maritime sector is a highly regulated environment. The website information is on your screen. Thank you for watching today's episode of NIMASA This Week, the Voice of Maritime. And we do hope that you found some useful information to encourage you that being a coastal nation is indeed a blessing, and our oceans are indeed a major asset to help us develop economically. Nigeria is home to one of the largest stretches of coastline you will ever find anywhere in the world. Nigeria remains home to one of the most significant windows to the Atlantic. We are a blessed nation as far as the maritime domain is concerned. So, no matter how far out you go, always remember to come back home. After all, it is said that home is where the anchor drops. And on that note, this is Ubong Essien asking you to stay on course. Bye-bye.